Hi, I'm Caitlin, and this is Book Chats. Today's Top 5 Wednesday is Top 5 Most Frustrating Characters. You're going to have to bear with me for a little bit. I have been moving. Sorry that I was gone for 2 weeks. I've been moving, and I am, at least for the temporary time in my childhood homes, has been taken over by my book collection, and it's I have just unpacked enough to do this video, but there's a ton of boxes surrounding me on the floor, so that's what you mostly can't see. This week's Top 5 Wednesday is Top 5 Most Frustrating Characters. It was really difficult for me to choose, largely because usually if a character is really frustrating me, I will either not like that book because of it, or I will not continue reading that book because I don't like the book because of the frustrating character. So my younger sister, who I've referenced before, she's kind of my unofficial consultant, she was like, it's just boring if you're just going to talk about books you hate because you hate their characters. So she really challenged me to try to find frustrating characters in books that I liked for other reasons. So we came up with a list of 5 books. 2 of them are books that I have purposely left unrated on Goodreads, partly because of this frustration I had with those characters. 2 of them are classics, so I feel like they're worth talking about even if I didn't like them because of these frustrating characters. And one of them is a book that I actually liked, but I was frustrated with it's actually 2 characters, but they frustrated me for the same reason, so I'll talk about them together as one character. And when it came to ranking, I ranked them in the order of, like, how frustrating the characters were to me personally. So, character number 5 is Theo. She is the main character from Point by Brandy Colbert, I think is the name of that author. Theo is a frustrating character because you want her to make certain decisions while you're reading the book, and she is unable to make them because of the place she is emotionally and psychologically. And so I actually started reading the book because I thought it would be, I'm not going to really talk a lot about what this book is about because it's about a lot of things, but I thought it would be a book about ballet because the cover, of course, like there's a ballerina on the cover, so I thought it'd be about ballet, which is this weird sub-genre that I really enjoy, is books about ballerinas. It was not, I mean, like, Theo is in ballet and it's part of her life, but it is not really about that at all. She just has a lot of decisions she makes that are harmful to herself, and a lot of secrets she decides to keep that I'm frustrated she's keeping. And so I started the book and I became frustrated with Theo as a character. But I kept reading it because Anne Ursu thought that it was a very important book, and she'd said something on her, I think on her Tumblr or on Twitter, about it being a very important book, so I kept reading. And then I got to a point where I kept reading because a secret had been revealed to me, but hadn't been revealed in the world of the character. I wanted to see how the character would deal with that secret and whether or not she would reveal it. I really felt that she should reveal it. And so I continued reading because of that. In the end, I chose to leave the book unrated because I think it needs a more nuanced review of that. So if you want to see my nuanced review, you can read that on Goodreads. But basically, I think it's a very difficult book, but a very important book. And I think the things that frustrated me about Theo were largely things that I could see echoes of in other people. Character number 4 is Sutter Keeley from The Spectacular Now. I've only read the book, I haven't seen the film, and this is kind of one of the reasons why. He's a very frustrating character. I've chosen to leave this unrated because I think that it's a very well-written book. And I think if the ending had been different, I would have been frustrated for other reasons. But Sutter Keeley in himself is a frustrating character because he doesn't change. Because who he is in the beginning is who he is in the end. And although who he is and like problems and consequences from his actions is revealed to us as the reader, he has not changed. It would have been frustrating, I think, because I would have found it unbelievable if he had some miracle revelation and had this big change at the end. But ultimately, I can't really, like, love this book because of him as a character. So number 3 is actually 2 characters from a book that I briefly mentioned before. And I'm going to be a little bit vague about who specifically these are because I don't want to reveal, like, things that you aren't necessarily supposed to know. They are 2 boys in If I Lie. This is a book that is centered around a situation where a girl is in, like, kind of a small town that's very, like, military town, and she has been dealing with the aftermath for about a year of the fact that photos were found and distributed of her in a compromising situation with a boy who was not her boyfriend, and her boyfriend is in the military and is currently deployed in Afghanistan. What happens is people kind of turn on her as, like, someone who, like, cheated, but the thing is that, like, there's a secret that she's keeping for her boyfriend that would explain kind of the situation she got into, but she has promised to keep that secret for her boyfriend. So I'm actually frustrated with both her boyfriend, and the other boy is actually not identifiable in the picture. All they know is that it wasn't her actual boyfriend, because her boyfriend was deployed at that time or was at boot camp or something like that. When we start reading the book, it's been about a year since this happened, and the boy has chosen during that year to remain anonymous so that she is going through it alone. During that same time, she's keeping the secret for her boyfriend. He is letting her go through this alone in order to keep his secret. So both of these boys are really, or men, whichever way you'd like to refer to them, are very frustrating to me as characters, even though they drive like the plot, and I really, really actually very much enjoyed this book because the decisions that they are making and the decisions they are asking the main character to make, saving their skins and hurting her. I can't go into too much detail because that's really the main conflict of the book, but I really enjoyed that book, even though those characters really frustrated me. So number 2 is a character who completely ruined this book for me, and it is Cathy from Wuthering Heights. I'm not sure 100% if I would have liked this book without Cathy, but when I think about the fact that I really don't enjoy Wuthering Heights, which is largely a book about someone getting revenge against people they feel like they need to get revenge against, versus the Count of Monte Cristo, they're similar in that they both have revenge plots, but the reason that I really dislike Wuthering Heights is because of Cathy. I just really feel like she makes dumb decisions, like, that ruin everyone's lives after she's already out of the book. And I just look at Heathcliff and I'm like, Heathcliff, Cathy is not worth the pain that you feel, and she's not worth the revenge that you are wreaking on everyone. Like, she's not worth it. She's a floozy. And that might be mean of me, and I know, I don't know. It's complicated, and there are things I have to unpack in that, but Cathy was really frustrating, and that's why I didn't like Wuthering Heights. And the number 1 most frustrating character is Dr. Frankenstein from Frankenstein. He is the most frustrating because he is the narrator, and he basically ruined this book for me. I think I gave Frankenstein 1 or 2 stars. It was highly recommended to me by a friend, and when I read it, I was like, why did you like this? And she said, and I was like, Dr. Frankenstein is so annoying and frustrating, and she was like, oh, yeah, ignore everything he says, wait till you get to hear from the monster. So definitely, like, this, if you're reading Frankenstein, is totally true. Dr. Frankenstein is one of these people who, and unfortunately I know that these people exist in real life, he is this person who doesn't take responsibility for his own actions and the consequences that come from them. And so, like, the prime example, so he's the narrator too, so he's like narrating this book and he's like, oh, these things, and oh my gosh, bad things happened, and it clearly wasn't my fault, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you created this thing, and then you freaked out about this thing that you created, and then you ran away and you got sick and you were gone for like 2 months, so it had to like escape and raise itself. Like, maybe if you'd taken responsibility for the thing that you created, all the other crappy things wouldn't have happened. Frankenstein is basically just completely unwilling to take responsibility for his actions, and every bad thing in the book stems from that. And I'm like, seriously, Dr. Frankenstein? It's really frustrating because he's a narrator and he wants us to be on his side, but I'm clearly not on his side because I want to stab him. So I don't really feel bad for him when bad things happen in his life. Anyway, those are the 5 most frustrating characters in books that I could think of. There's a lot of characters that frustrate me for various reasons, but again, if characters really frustrate me, I usually don't like those books, and I didn't want to just dump on books because I'm frustrated with them. Really wanted to, like, open up discussion. So I would love to hear from you. Like, what are characters that frustrate you in books? And I would love to hear if there's any books that, like, I love this book, but this character is frustrating, and this is why. Like, I really had difficulty finding that in the books that I've read and kept track of. Please let me know if you agree or disagree about Cathy from Wuthering Heights, about Dr. Frankenstein from Frankenstein, or about any of the other choices from the books that I've mentioned here. Thank you, and I hope to see you soon-ish in slightly less disarray. Bye!